Hello and welcome to Cabalvision HD's Bico League show brought to you by Bloodwiser. This is your one-stop shop for all of the amazing and exciting action in the past week of Bico League. I'm your host Jim, and I'm joined as always by the second fastest big guy in Bico League, Leslie Flowers,
G'day.
and also the master of hot takes, an old veteran coach here to give us young guys some wisdom, Mr. Skulls.
Good evening.
So, just for the order of business after recapping, we will be interviewing Coach Manlett before moving on to preview the next week's matches. Now, well, it's time for us to start the recap section of the show where we go across all of the latest games happening in Bico League. Let's start with you, Leslie. You were at an amazing match. Bell polishers to old world users screaming Leo's bulging BBC for 3-0 victory over Dr. WTF's baseless accusations. What happened here? We are dying to know.
I genuinely don't know what to say about this match. I don't even think you can call it a match. This was just 16 turns of Nuffle saying, it's Leo's turn to win. There's no tactic to analyze, no play to break down. The only thing here to do is to list all the gifts bestowed upon bulging BBC for.
Oh.
First, he gets a free reroll from the kickoff event.
Okay.
Secondly, the ball lands directly on one of his ball carriers, touchdown machine 4000. Thirdly, multiple blunders on the side of baseless accusations burn through all of their rerolls in an effort to keep their head above water had a premature turn end on turn 5, giving touchdown machine 4000 a clean walk to the end zone. This drive also resulted in an injury on Jeffrey Epstein that was tended to in an effort to keep him in the game, and a knockout on Harvey Weinstein, which he will not recover from until turn 11.
Ooh.
Fourthly, a riot happens at the start of the next drive, dropping a turn from the Dark Elf offensive from 3 turns to just 2. Although perhaps that was a good thing for them, as all they managed to achieve was having a journeyman injured and Kevin Spacey red-carded during a foul attempt. This rounded out the first half 1-0 and only 8 Dark Elves left available to play.
Ooh.
Number 5 on this list is baseless accusations having their touchback immediately cut short by a quad skull roll on a block action, leaving Aubrey Drake Graham knocked out for the rest of the drive. Number 6 follows on from number 5 as it left the ball carrier wide open to get blitzed by Ahmed Al-Kaboom 911, whom has the ball landed directly in his hands and he keeps running down the pitch. Number 7 is Ahmed Al-Kaboom 911 retaining the ball whilst being completely alone, save for 3 Dark Elves trying to take him down and then dodging out the turn after, ending in a touchdown, bringing bulging BBC 4 to 2-0. Start of the drive sees the 2 KO Dark Elves wake up from their slumber. Not that it matters, because number 8 on the list is Leo's next move, having 4 out of 4 block actions end in armor breaks, 2 of which are KOs. Number 9. Coach Doc uses his last reroll to fail a crucial dodge, leaving the ball carrier essentially exposed. Coach Leo swarms the quarter cage, beats down the ball carrier, then grabs the ball in a tackle zone, dodges out, all in one fell swoop. This turn ends with only 1 Dark Elf upright, and he is surrounded by 5 Bretonians. Number 10. Despite zero understanding of how tackle zones work, Coach Leo manages to one-dice his way through the limping elves to score the 3rd and final touchdown of the game, turn 16. This marks the only victory in Coach Leo's long career, and while he has my congratulations, I have to say, given how it went down, it felt more like some divine bureaucratic entity was ticking a box than any real accomplishment. Call it arbitrary if you will, but I continue to await the day he takes a true win.
Okay. Okay. So Coach Leo, I mean, it's a momentous day for him,
Of
but still got something to prove to at least our very own Leslie Flowers.
Absolutely.
Um,
Now,
amazing and all. Oh, go
the,
ahead.
I was going to say there was a lot going on in the post match. I believe you have more on that, don't you? I was already home by then.
Yes, there was a fallout with the opposition manager, who, judging from everything you said, really felt that Nuffle had it out for him. Off already a tough season. Words were said, it's all sort of behind closed doors. Well, some of it was very out in the open, but we, as a respectable, TV show, aren't going to be covering, this petty drama. You can go to you can go to any level of drama publication for the news on that, but there is a statement by the Bico League Commission which says that, effective immediately, uh, Coach Dr. WTF has officially withdrawn from Bico League mid-season. They are disappointed in that, but that they understand, and ultimately each coach, it's up to them if they continue. So for the interim, for the rest of the season, there will be an interim Bico League commission that will be managing the baseless accusations. However, because of Coach Doc's leaving, they have been heavily penalised. All rerolls have been taken away from them. Their star player has been, the most expensive player has been cut, and they are not allowed to use any form of petty cash. This basically they basically cannot win or even draw a match for the rest of the season, but they still have to play their games for the sanctity of the league. Let's just leave it at that. Again, there's plenty of places you can get your news if you want to, have
I
the drama.
think it is worth adding penalties alone, being managed by a paper pusher for a team is a terrible place to be in. I
Mm,
wouldn't I wouldn't
mm.
want to be bossed around by that coach, not by any means.
Well, yeah, it's not looking good for the rest of their season, sadly. Jeffrey Epstein's really going to be out of a job. um, all right, we have a packed show, ladies and gentlemen, so let's just move on. Uh, Mr. Skulls, you were at SHG's The Twitch Gamers 1-1 tie against Sleepy's Shuriman University. How was this game?
Yes, I was there, and on the heels of their mythologized win last week, this week the Vampires rally their players for a draw. More impressive than it sounds, I suppose. Coach Sleepy has been playing a killer season of Blood Bowl this time around, really
Mm,
finding his groove with the often lambasted ogres. The first turn, although the first turn was pretty rough for the Shirimans, as a set of double skulls forces a reroll, leaving them vulnerable to the other set of double skulls that comes a couple of blocks later.
mm,
Uh,
mm.
the gamers take full advantage of this, knocking down Gambling Addict on a blitz, and knocking him out with a maneuver that I suspect the ref didn't quite see, though I'm not here to make any accusations. While this was happening, Tony Hawk Tua and Mozzarella Smuggler were fumbling with the ball in the backfield, so they couldn't keep Noxian Shuffler's antics at bay, as he picks up big fat juicy MF and slams him on the grass, luckily only knocking him out. This
Mm.
devolves into an all-out brawl in the midfield, as both teams are duking it out. But Tony Hawk Tua remembers the rules of the game and decides to make his way forward with the ball along the edge, but a slip up on his part turns into a disaster as Germa breaks away from the brawl to blitz him into the bloodthirsty crowd, injuring the star player. A massive loss on the part of the Shufflers. Not all is lost though, as the ball is scattered in the mess, flying towards the touchdown line lands in Antifa army members' waiting arms, securing Coach Sleepy the first touchdown.
Mm.
The second half starts with a daring offense by the gamers. A couple of Nobblers try their best to intercept it, but a clean running pass from Germa to Skyrim Sex Mods puts the ball dangerously close to the line. Gambling Addict is back on the field though, and looking for some revenge. He punches Sex Mods hard enough that he drops the ball. Not hard enough though, to prevent him from getting back on his feet and tying up the score. After that, some very invasive vampire positioning turns into a meatball of players on the edge, and a cheeky sidestep makes the ball bounce way out into Coach ECG's backline. The meatball migrates there, and the Shrimans are looking like they've got another touchdown in the bag, but the tension of the situation must have gotten to them, and a critical failure from college dropout makes any chance at a victory vanish. Wherever he dropped out from, Cleary must have known something about him, huh?
I do think that the loss of Tony Hawk to us so early on must. I mean, that he is the star ogre for Shuriman University, and to be injured, was it? Do you recall if it was a serious injury or
Uh,
just?
no, I think it was a normal injury, but in either case, massive loss of pressure on the shuffler's part means that they didn't really have a lot of options for breaking away from a scuffle,
Mm,
and
fair,
that really hampered their tactical options.
absolutely. Okay, let's head back to Leslie, who was at a sort of a bit of a. Well, let's see how this game was. Maurice's 1-0 win, the Natural Born Fowlers 1-0 victory over Fox's Parkour Pros. What can you tell us about this match?
Well, it was a very strong match, if I do say so myself, although little to talk about. The first half sees the Parkour Pros on the offense, but were unable to score courtesy of a stellar defense by the Natural Born Fowlers, who managed to tie up the Orcs in a quagmire of bodies for 8 whole turns. This wasn't free, however, and shot through the heart takes a nasty blow, leaving him unable to participate for the rest of the match, and Nuffle receiving a KO, which will effectively eliminate him from the match.
Hmm.
The start of the second half starts off with a bang. The Fowlers receive a touchback, allowing them to start with the ball essentially already nestled within a cage. However, the same turn also saw the Orcs receive a blitz action, meaning the cage was surrounded on all corners in an instant. The slugging fest starts up again, and it is among the carnage that Coach Maurice makes the cold, calculating decision to lose the battle but win the war. LinkedIn Park is ordered to pull out almost all the way to their own touchdown zone and let the Orcs close in on the cage. While they're focused on the violence, the ball is then passed off to Dirtiest Player, who is on the outskirts and makes a mad dash for the touchdown line. He trips and loses hold of the ball, but importantly, only a token force is seen to address him, being far too focused on battering the rest of the team. And batter they did. Shaven to the Bone becomes the third human to get injured this match, while Robbie, Politician, and General Macklemore get knocked out. Their sacrifice is not in vain, as it does allow LinkedIn Park to run down as well, reunite with the ball, and score the one and only touchdown of the match on turn 16, handing the victory to the Natural Born Fowlers.
Wow. Maurice really putting up a bit of a title fight here. Bit of a run coming on. With all these consecutive wins. I wonder if he's going to be able to clinch it. He does have the head-to-head against Coach Capri, but he's got to face, the chaos coach that is Sleepy, who's playing, as we said earlier in the show, amazingly with those ogres. And 6 mighty blows. It's going to be tough for anyone. So real exciting title fight this league. All right. So I was at Capri's Cretan Community College 1-1 tie against Moon's 105.2 Hard Rock Cabal. Now, this match was the one that we were all waiting for. And while a draw might seem a bit of a disappointing ending for both teams, trust me, it was one of the greatest Blood Bowl games that I have had the pleasure of commentating on in my long career. It was already peak when we got word as the match was starting that Cretan Community College had hired the greatest and fastest big guy in the old world, in the new world. Hell, add in Middle Earth too, Morg and Thorg. Now, one thing we all know about Morg, he does not play for cheap. Coach Capri had to spend a lot of money to persuade him to show up this game. The Chaos Dwarfs won the kickoff but elected to kick the ball first, assuming that they would be able to inflict a lot more damage on the opponents by the time they got around to offense. A tried and tested strategy for many physical teams out there. Immediately, both coaches tried to win the center, with Moron being able to scoop up the ball turn one. After Morg blitzes, Capri is able to set up a cage in Moon's half by turn two. However, Radioactive wasn't just going to sit around and watch this happen. With two dwarves supporting, he tried to blitz Morg himself, unsuccessfully, but is able to make use of break tackle and dodge out of retaliation. Capri then makes a very sloppy decision. I just have to say it like that. He advances the cage first, saving the ball carrier for last. Not bad in and of itself, but then proceeds to foul and get a skink sent off. And with the resulting turnover, Moron is now dangerously exposed. This is Moron, Cretan's protege, by the way, the star skink of Cretan Community College. Radioactive blitzes the unprotected ball carrier, but he can only push even after using a reroll. The Lizards get the message, and Moron, Cretan's protege, scurries into the end zone for a turn 5 touchdown. A good lead for Coach Capri, but now he has to protect against the Chaos Dwarfs for 2 full-length drives minimum, with no casualties inflicted, and to add on, a riot on kickoff adds more turns to this match. Almost immediately, it seems that the pressure made resulted in a sort of a bad or a mixed up defensive position, leaving a skink wide open to be blitzed and subsequently KO'd, which would become a real problem for the Lizards. A shortage of ball carriers. Remember, this is a Lizardman. Only skinks, and in this weird case, Morg can also kind of handle the ball, but really only the skinks can handle the ball. And we're going to see what's going to happen to them. Radioactive, the Cabal's star runner, picks up the ball, but for only the second time this season, and the first time not in Blizzard conditions, falls over on a going for it in turn 7, and Moron again can secure the ball. A grown-ass man attempts to foul again, and again the skink is sent off. Now, Coach Moon, not wanting to be outdone, fouls Croxagore, Moon, and Star Nerevarine, and kills him. The pitch side apothecary makes it so that a Croxagore can rejoin later, and the hobgoblin responsible is also sent off. The foul, 3 fouls into 3 sending offs, is one of the most officious referees I've ever seen, an absolute disgrace to the sport. The second half begins with a bang. Bulls on parade, the Minotaur for 105.2 Hard Rock Cabal, catching the ball on the touchdown line. He blitzes, and while getting a good result, his bloodlust frenzy forces him into base contact with the 3 Saurus that had been pushed back from the successful block actions on the line. Morgan Thorg then shows us why he makes the big gold coins. A blitz into Bulls on parade not only knocks him down, but he catches the rebounding ball himself, securing it for the Lizardmen. Now, no one can take that ball out of Morg's hands. Well, that is to say, except himself, and he trips over trying to make a fairly inconsequential dodge, turning over and proccing Loner for the reroll. A fierce battle takes place over the ball, with the prevalence of guard making the Cabal really able to hammer all of their opponents. A frightening thing happens to Capri with a 4th or 5th KO. I must confess I can't keep track of them all. There were no more skinks on the field. After a brutal battle, on turn 14, Radioactive is able to push, able to rush and score for the Hard Rock Cabal, making this a tied game. Now, we all know the score, 1-1. We know nothing much happens. Rather than tell you, the little to and fro of the last couple turns, where not much happened, I'm instead going to just share some statistics with you, dear listeners. On Capri's side, there were 3 dodges he failed. Each one of them a 3+ or 67%, depending on your order, with but either dodge or a reroll available for all three. For two of them, it would have been a certain unmarked touchdown. And for the third, an incredibly good position. This was one Morg failed. Any one of them. You didn't have to make all three, didn't have to make two, just one of them. And he failed every single one. And for Moon, 22% pick up the ball percentage. 22%. 4 attempts by Radioactive in the dying moments of the match. Within range of scoring if you could just pick it up. Both coaches have very valid causes for why they could not get a touchdown being out of their control. In short, ladies and gentlemen, what a match. It really did not disappoint. I would also just quickly like to say, I know this has went on way too long, but both coaches showing very good tactical play. I will say Moon made very, very few mistakes. Perhaps there was a bit of pressure on Capri, but I mean, he handled it well, and his Capri's usage of his star player was inspired. You know, getting blitzes off, always seeming to be in the thick of the action. Yeah, really, really want to study and watch, ladies and gentlemen.
Wish I could have been there. Unfortunately, I got stuck on traffic on the Golden Road, and I mean, apparently, I wasn't the only one who wanted to go watch that match. Personally, I think the most interesting thing for me is where this is going to leave Coach Capri and Critting Community College after this match. Because, as we said, Morgenthau ain't cheap.
Yeah.
The question
Indeed.
is, do they have the dollary dues to fund the last 2 matches of this league? Who knows?
Who knows? Well, at least they have a slight respite going up against the bureaucratic Bico Leagues Commission next week. But we'll get to that in the preview section. Mr. Scholes, did you want to say something?
No, just that, yeah, the monetary situation of the Creating Community College is gonna be rough, but it shouldn't be too bad considering the nature of Lizardmen and the limit we impose on positional players here at the Bico League.
Oh, I actually totally forgot to say this. It was a pretty clean match. Lots of KOs, lots of stuns, not many injuries. So neither coach really, and no deaths, of course, well, with the exception of the one above carried. So no real coach getting real like punishment, or having to go into the next match licking their wounds. We've got to move on, Mr. Skulls. Let's keep it on you. You were at the final game of the week. iDojan's My Anime Figures 1-0 win over Manlet's British Museum Moyais. How was this match?
Oh my, after a game like that, any other game might pale in comparison, but I will say, man, I take it back, Robbie. I didn't know the true depths that the contemporary big guy can reach. Throughout the season, Butcher Pete hasn't been the best player in the world. He's been on our minds regularly for being a shitter. But the past couple of games have really taken it to a new level. Shitter of the season is a title that wouldn't fucking do it justice.
So is this your shitter of the week?
It's like shitter of the season.
Well, let's save our season awards
Yeah.
for the end, but for the
Yeah,
week.
I will say that one's kind of locked in. He really hasn't been doing fucking anything. He just loves that nice turf we have at Bico League Stadium. Beyond that, the match was also quite unusual. If you didn't know the coaches and just looked at the matchup sheets, Swift Amazons versus Slippery Goblins and Rats would have you believe that this would be a position-heavy technical game. Far from it, though. This was a real knuckle-dragging barn burner of the match.
Are you saying both? Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but are you saying both coaches just went bash against each other?
Absolutely. I'm talking a cage of Amazons on the edge, absolutely swamped by rats. And it just fucking stayed there the whole half. The ball moved the whole, like, 4 squares, maybe. I reckon the players even forgot what they were doing. Just fight, fight, fight. Not that I'm complaining though. That's what I love to see when I watch Blood Bowl. Plenty of blood too, multiple injuries and KOs on both sides. Quite daring to be so aggressive when both teams are so fragile.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Nothing really happened in the first half besides all of the violence. The ball didn't move, it just stayed in the middle of that meatball of players. The second half starts with Amazons on the offense. Although it quickly devolves into more violence, the ball is brought to the center again, and another swamp of players and bashes ensues. But I guess a couple of the girls managed to rub two neurons together and remember you win the game by scoring touchdowns. And Shinobu manages to slip through a gap in the carnage, past the Korone, and tell her to score the first and only touchdown of the game.
Mm.
After that, it's back to more violence, but at the brink of the end of the game, Coach Manlet almost has a long shot to score, but Bico Clash contestant unfortunately cannot make the pass, and the whistle is blown.
So you're saying if you want violence, tune into this match.
Absolutely. You wouldn't believe it. I almost didn't believe it. This was one of the bashiest matches this season.
Well, with that, let's take a look at the Week 7 standings. In first place, we have Maurice's Natural Born Fowlers. 5 wins, 1 draw, and 1 loss, and they are first place by virtue of the head-to-head result against second place, Pre with Cretan Community College, on an identical record. 5 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss. In third, we have Moon's 105.2 Hard Rock Cabal. 4 wins, 2 draws, and 1 loss. Fourth place, Idogen's My Anime Figures. 3 wins, 3 draws, and 1 loss. Coach Sleepy's Shuriman University in fifth with 2 wins, 3 draws, and 2 losses. Manlet's British Museum Moyai's on sixth with 2 wins, 1 draw, and 4 losses. SHE's Twitch Gamers are in seventh with 1 win, 4 draws, and 2 losses. Coach Leo and Coach Fox are in 8th and 9th with identical records of 1 win, 1 draw, and 5 losses. The tabulations haven't actually came in on. They haven't faced each other yet, so we don't know who wins the head-to-head between them. So someone's going to have to calculate the touchdown difference, but no one can be bothered to do that right now. Now it's time for our interview segment of the show. Earlier this week, I traveled down to the underworld to speak with my good friend, Mr. Coach himself, Manlet Hamlet. Hi, I'm Jim, and I'm here today with Coach Manlet of the British Museum Moyais. We're down here in the underworld. Manlet, how are you doing today?
Well, Jim, thank you for having me. Well, I'll tell you how I'm feeling. I'm feeling like crap, really, because I don't know what the hell just happened. I think, frankly, what we saw was a rigged game. That fair and square is a rigged game. You know, I won that game fair and square. If you had everyone was there in the stands, they saw it. You know, everyone watching at home saw the game. If you look at the replay, you're gonna see I won that game fair and square. I don't know what the refs were saying, what the coaches were saying, but I won that game fair and square, Jim.
So of course, this is in reference to your recent, tough loss against Idogen's My Anime Figures, a 1-0 loss. So you're saying he rigged it, or the refs, or who's involved?
Everyone's that's involved behind the scenes is involved, Jim. I don't know exactly who did it, but they're conspiring against me because they know that I have the greatest team in Blood Bowl. You know, by all of Bico League, there's never been a team like mine. You know, these underworld dances, British Museum, the Moyas, you know, you've never seen a team like them before. The greatest team you've ever seen before, Jim, and they're afraid of that.
I understand, Mr. Coach. So how has, discounting let's leave the allegations and see what comes of any investigations from there. Despite that, how has this season went for you? You know, are you happy with this team compared to the Goblins of previous seasons?
Yeah, Jim, I'm very happy with this with the British Museum Moyas. We have an amazing team with greatest team in Bico League. You know, the first time around with the Goblins, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but this time we have an amazing team. You know, greatest team in Blood Bowl in all of Bico League history. It's an amazing team.
That's fantastic to hear. Now, we were speaking, a couple of weeks ago, and you said to me that some of your players don't seem to get the plaudits from the media. I think you called them, the big media, crooked. I think was some of the words you used. They don't get what they deserve. So who as we as fans should we be keeping an eye on, from your team?
Well, Jim, a great star on my team is Library Workout. He's got 2 heads. You can't miss him. He's always running around that field. He's always dodging everything. He's the greatest dodger in Bico League. No one dodges like Library Workout does.
Yeah.
And we can't forget about McLovin. Play tutorial because he's definitely learned how to pick up the ball and make some passes there, Jim. You can't deny that.
I'm not denying anything. I want to be clear, Mr. Coach.
Butcher Pete as well. I gotta say, Butcher Pete's been putting in some work now that because he's got tentacles. Trolls more than had the goblins didn't have tentacles. We had great trolls when I'm coach with the denizens. We didn't have great trolls when I was with goblins. Our trolls weren't as great with goblins. Now with the denizens, we're the greatest trolls in all of Bico League.
That's really fascinating to hear from you because some other media outlets have really been criticizing Butcher Pete. His past few games, they've been saying it's a Robbie level performance, even approaching, the mythical Zezga levels of terrible big guy performance. So you're saying, the media is entirely wrong about Butcher Pete.
It's the fake news media, Jim. They take one thing, they put it everywhere. And, even though it's not right, they put it everywhere. It's the fake news media, they're lying to the people.
Wow.
People have a different idea. But Butcher Pete's been doing really well this season, Jim.
So who are the players who are really putting in the work? On the training ground. Maybe we don't see them, maybe they don't have the stats, but are really like the core members of the British Museum OEIs.
Well, Jim, behind the scenes, we got some great thinkers like Goblino Miku. Goblino Miku's really been there since the beginning. Patmos, the strongest soldier, has been putting in a lot of work out in the field. He's been doing great. People like to discount him, Jim, an amazing star. He's a star player of our team.
There was some words that perhaps you had a bit of a falling out with, one of your blitzers, blitz on that thing. Is this true, or do you still have, a good relationship?
Well, Jim, I've never heard that story before. I don't know what you're talking about. Blitz on that thing has been doing an amazing job this whole season. Week after week, he's been putting in bash after bash, really knocking some skulls in,
Absolutely, yeah. It's we are just aggregating. I mean, this is why we go to you. We want to get the real story. We don't want to be relying on third-hand accounts on Leopold Bottom Fiend for Spike Magazine and his reporting. We just want to hear it straight from you, Mr. Coach. Okay, so let's
Spike Magazine. You call it Spike Magazine.
So I would just like to ask, about your career. Taking away the team for a bit. You've been a core member of Bico League. Have you given any thought of next season, which team you might want to coach?
Well, Jim, I'm a man of the goblins. The goblins are my people. I love my people. I love my goblins. Nobody knows goblins like I do. I'm the greatest coach in goblin history. Nobody plays goblins like I do.
Ooh, so
but this season we made a change as well. So you'll have to see. You never know.
So you maybe don't feel a bit of an affinity for the rats now on your team?
Skavens and the team have done an incredible job. They've done an incredible job this season, but we can't rule anything out. We'll have to see.
Well, I'm gonna be, I'm already on the edge of my seat. I can't wait to see what happens. Bit of an insinuation that you might go back to goblins, but we don't know, Mr. Coach.
Grab your popcorn. You'll enjoy this next one.
So, At times, because I don't want to. Yeah, I know you're an incredibly busy man, and there's perhaps some litigations or whatever going on. I don't know. So I'll let you get back to that. So I would just like to close out with. Do you have any thoughts? Anything you'd like to share to all the Cabalvision HD audience at home?
Well, Jim, I'd just like to say you can never really discount the British Museum MOEs. We've done an incredible job. We have amazing people in our team. We have some of the greatest players in Bico League in our team. We really have an amazing team. British Museum MOEs have done an amazing job, and we're going to keep doing an amazing job for the rest of the season. And next season, we'll just have to see what happens. We're going to do an even better job, hopefully.
Love to hear that.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Coach.
Thank you for having me, Jim.
Okay, back to you all at the studio. All right, and now just before we wrap up, let's take a quick minute to look ahead to our Week 8 matches. Mr. Skulls, tell us about Idojin versus Moon. Who do you think is going to come out on top?
Well, I would say that Coach Moon has a very good chance of winning. The Amazons cannot take a lot of bash, and with their reliance on the dodge skill and the Chorf's reliance on tackling that dodge skill into the ground, it'll be hard to mount a defense against radioactive and now enemy two bull centers that can make it through, that can cover a lot of ground really fast. Coach Dojin really has his work cut out for him this week, but as we've seen multiple times this season, anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Leslie, Coach SHG will be facing Coach Manlet. What are your thoughts? What do you think is going to happen in this game?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, we've seen SHG pull out a win at this point. I don't think it's fair to just assume the worst of him now.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from that, I mean, I'm still holding out hope that Underworlds have something going for them, and that maybe Butcher Pete will come into his own.
One day.
All right. Fox versus Leo. Now, I think this is going to be a very interesting match. Leo is showing his tactical improvement somewhat in some cases. Perhaps luck, perhaps an awful. We don't know. But he's definitely playing better than he was last season. And against the rookie coaches, Fox, this is going to be a real measuring stick match. Fox has shown an amazing passion for the game, but passion can't really substitute for just experience. Leo has so much more experience than Fox, but Fox really hanging in. He's been losing quite a bit, of course. The record doesn't lie, but not many of those games have been blowouts that were perhaps quite common with Coach Leo last season. I will say Coach Leo also hasn't really been getting blown out. I think this might be a really fascinating game, and also both coaches can make some brain dead plays that some people think is Kino. So I think this is going to be one to watch. All right, Mr. Skulls, Sleepy's Streaming University up against Maurice's Natural Born Fowlers. I mean, this one's going to be a real doozy of a match, right?
No, absolutely. On the topic of violence, huh? Yeah, if this one's gonna be a real slobber knocker, there's a million fucking mighty blows going around. My money would probably be on Maurice winning. He is now in the lead and slated to win the season, but we've seen Coach Sleepy pull miracles with these ogres. Who's to say he can't do it again?
Absolutely, and I've sadly messed all of this up, Leslie. Please don't be mad. You are stuck with telling us Capri versus Doc. That is the Bico League Commission, a baseless accusations team. So, what do you think the result of this match is going to be?
Well, I mean, the commission certainly can't have Doc's luck, am I right?
Yeah, I think
But-
you're right on that one.
I mean, it's probably still going to be a win, but it can't be the freest win.
Yeah, 400 team value difference, no rerolls is brutal, but I mean, Nuffle just had it out for him. And now, sadly, it is time for our show to end. Thank you all very much for listening to Cabalvision HD's Bico League show presented by Bloodwiser. Thank you for joining us, Leslie.
Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Skulls.
Goodbye.
Stay tuned for the Week 8 broadcast coming to your crystal wall soon. I've been Jim, and happy bowling.